Hi everyone! Now that we've seen how carbon cycles around the Earth, we're going to take a look at how producers, such as this tree, use that carbon as well as other things during a process that we call photosynthesis. This is the document that you'll need. As you can see, it's a fill in the blank, and you'll find all of this on the Google Slides. The sun is required during photosynthesis, and if we didn't have the sun, there would be no photosynthesis at all, and that's because it produces what we call radiant energy, or you could also call it light energy. 70% of the radiant energy is absorbed by the hydrosphere and the lithosphere, and it's converted into thermal energy. When we hear the word thermal, we think of heat, and that's exactly what thermal energy does. It warms the earth, it evaporates water, which affects water availability, and it also creates winds. Now, 30% of it is reflected directly back into space, and 0.023% of the radiant energy is used for photosynthesis. So really a very small amount. This 0.023% is absorbed directly by living organisms, and therefore the sun's purpose during photosynthesis is to provide energy to all organisms. This way they can stay alive and they can function. Before plants can use this energy, they do need to convert it. So they take the radiant energy from the sun and they transform it to chemical energy. And the reason why they need to do this is because chemical energy is the only type of energy that can be stored. So that way they can keep it in their stems, their leaves, and that way they can use it later on when perhaps there is no light, for example. So at night they could use it. The only downside about chemical energy is that it does have to be replaced as it is used. So they do need the sun every now and then to create more and more chemical energy. Organisms need this chemical energy because they will use it later during cellular respiration, where they perform their functions such as growth, movement, and reproduction. Now, something important to realize is that when us humans go outside and stand in the sun, we cannot produce any chemical energy. That's not where we get it from. We get it from food chains, as we saw earlier. So we depend on producers. Producers are the only ones that can perform photosynthesis. And when they produce it, it is passed on to herbivores who will consume the producers. Then it's passed on to carnivores. Almost everything that is green is a producer, and what gives green plants their color is a chemical that we call chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is what captures or absorbs the radiant energy during photosynthesis, and even aquatic ecosystems have producers that are green and contain chlorophyll, such as algae. They absorb the light energy or the radiant energy through the water. Now that you know what is required for photosynthesis and who can perform photosynthesis, let's look at the equation. That way we can see specifically everything that happens. Okay, so we have carbon dioxide, which we saw is absorbed by producers as well as water. So we have a plant, it gets watered by rain, let's say, and absorbs carbon dioxide, and on top of that, it absorbs the radiant energy from the sun on a sunny day. Now it can perform photosynthesis. During photosynthesis, it transforms this carbon dioxide and water into two things, sugar and oxygen. This sugar is the chemical energy that it will use later on. It will store in its seeds, leaves, in any structure in the plant, or it can use it as building materials for growth. And then this oxygen here is released into the atmosphere, and that's why reforestation or planting of trees is a really good initiative for reducing for reducing climate change and global warming because it decreases the amount of CO2 or carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, which is the cause for climate change. Now we see that the sun here was required, so if it was nighttime, this could not happen. For carbon dioxide and water to turn into sugar and oxygen, we absolutely need the sunlight to provide the radiant energy that the plants need. Finally, as you can see, plants are capable of making their own food, which is the sugar here. As we mentioned earlier, consumers depend on producers because we are unable to make our own food. So we need to consume these. And that is all. That's all for photosynthesis. So if you look at your document here, the exit activity is to answer the questions about photosynthesis on Go Formative. The very last lesson will be on cellular respiration, which will look at how we use that energy that producers make. Then it'll be our test. Thank you.